We are back for another Unreal Engine tutorial making our escape room, and I'm just as always continuing to use the same project file I've been updating over time. So escape room demo, open project. Previously we've made some elements to our level design, most specifically a door, an elevator, and a switch that unlocks the door. Before I get too much further into some of the things I want to accomplish with this demo, I do want to create a player controller that is different than this default one that we have. When we start playing this, we have this, the person can run around and jump around, and we did a few demo things with this tennis ball gun type of thing, but I actually don't really have a lot of use for that right now. Now, you don't have to do all these things that I'm going to do for this demonstration, but I think it's going to make some things easier in the long run. And if you ever want to switch back to this controller that we have with this camera and the setup, we'll do this in a way that you can always revert back to it later if you want to. So don't worry, you shouldn't lose anything if you kind of follow along this. I'll just keep putting this right in the content area here, and the first thing I will do is put in a new blueprint class, and this one is going to be a player controller. So that's a little bit different than what we've done before. New blueprint class, it's a player controller type, and I'm going to call this escape player controller. That'll be my name, since this is like an escape room, and that way I know that it's something separate from those other items that are in there. So that's the first thing that I want to do. The next thing I want to do is I need to find, like, this item here. We're going to have a controller and we're going to have a pawn. All right? And the pawn, they already have a lot of this for us already done, and instead of reinventing the wheel, we're going to take what has been used and we're going to duplicate it and make some changes. And I got this technique from the YouTube page Making Games with Katie, and she has phenomenal tutorials, and she's infinitely better than I am at any of this, but this is kind of the same type of thing that I'm trying to do, that she showed us how to do in her video. So I think it'll work nicely for this demonstration. So for that, here in the content and where I can search, I want to search around for first person character, and it shows right here, first person character. If I right click on this and I show in folder view, it'll bring it on here to the side where I can navigate through this, and then right here is where the first person character is. If I right click on that and duplicate this, and this one here I will call escape pawn. Alright, and you'll see it's got kind of the same icons down there. We have escape pawn and then first person character. This escape pawn, then I'm going to click and drag it and move it up to the content, and then it gives me some options. I'll select move here. Okay, and then it says one item moved. And if I go back here to this, right by my escape player controller and all these other elements that I've made for this demonstration, they're all found in the same spot. So it'll be kind of convenient while we're going back and working on this. Okay, so those are all in there. If I go double click on this escape pawn, it takes us to our event graph, and a lot of this we don't need. So this motion controllers and all that, I'm not making anything that's going to be for like VR or anything that's going to use that. So I'm going to erase those out of there. The stick input and the movement input and the mouse and the jump, I'm going to keep. The spawning the projectile, since this current player doesn't have a weapon, that's not going to be there either. So I'll click compile and save. Alright, and then if I look in this viewport over here, there are some things in here that I don't need also. So the VR marker, that is something that I am not going to need. I don't need the VR gun. I don't need this R motion controller or the L motion controller. I don't need the spheres that are going to be spawned from the gun. I don't need the first person gun. I don't need these two arms in that position anyway. Maybe it's something we could mess around with later, but for right now, I'm not going to have it in there. And so that should be kind of everything that we need for that. First person camera is fine. Mesh inherited, arrow component. We should be good. So I'm going to compile, and there is this error that showed up, and if I click on target, it'll take me to the construction script, and this here is just making references to the attached components that we no longer have there, so I can erase that, compile and save, and we're all good to go for that. Okay, so I'm going to close out, and if I check in here on this map and have a first person character right there, that's my old first person character. I can actually erase that out of there, and we should be good for that part right there. Alright, so now I'm going to save, and then if I go and search here for first person game mode and double click on this, I'll make a few different changes to this on here. So one of these is going to be the player controller class. If I click on this, I don't want it to select my original player controller that was there. Instead, I want to escape player controller. So that's the class that we made before. And then we have the default pawn class. If I click on this, then in here I have escape pawn. Alright, then I can compile and save. When I click out of that, I save this. And now when I move around, I can see that my character, you know, doesn't have the gun facing out in the front. And it's just kind of like a clean slate. Now, one other thing that I will need to do here is I'll go back to my, let me clear my search here. And so, for example, if I look here where it says door, all right, and we have cast to first person character up here. All right, so I want to find on here cast to, and I want to find escape pawn. Okay, so if I click on this, then what I can do is I can select this here. I can move the object to here and erase this one. Alright, and connect that right there. And then this one, and I'll just copy and paste this down. And the reason why I have to do this is because otherwise it's trying to check for the old character that we had, and since we created our own new one that we're going to be using for the rest of this demo, we need to make references to that. So that's here for the door. Compile and save. I can close out, and then also here on the door switch, begin overlap. Actually, we should be okay with that one. So let me component begin overlap. Alright, so let's try this out and see how we're doing. We'll test this out. If I go over here, obviously the door's locked, it's not moving. Okay, I'll go onto the platform, go over the switch, and now it moves the door. So we just had to make that reference so that it worked with our new character. Alright, other than that, nothing really new for this one. I just wanted to have this be separate from the next tutorial because otherwise I was afraid the next one was going to be kind of long, and I'm trying to keep these short for you all. Something to look forward to down for the next video will be, now that we have this blank slate of a character, having some ways where the character can interact with things around this escape room, so we can kind of manipulate some things around us. That should be kind of fun to play around with. So here this one is, not much to show for it, but I think it will be useful for our next videos. Let me know if you have any questions or need any help with anything, and we'll catch you on the next video.